want to talk about some things, man, that was kind of on my mind last night. Two things I want to talk about. One is can't be nice. Can't be nice to these women, man. And I want to respond to something. Salute to Minister Jap. You know, he went in last night um, talking about tricking and what guys say. Like it's the same whether you spend on a chick, give a chick cash directly versus you whining and dining the chick, so to speak. So he made some interesting points. I kind of want to give a little rebuttal to that. So let's talk. Let me talk about the being nice part real quick. So I was out yesterday getting some food, and I seen a pretty young tenderoni man, in this little in this little takeout restaurant, right? So I'm like checking around, and she's getting she's at the fountain machine, you know, filling up her cup with a beverage. And so I was waiting for her to finish so I could you know select my beverage to fill up or whatever the case may be. And as she was finishing and I was walking towards her direction, I spoke. I said, hey, you're very attractive. So I was respectful, nice, and she looked at me and was like, she was like, why are you so close to me? I said, huh? I said, lady, we in a tight space anyway. Like, I'm not. I was. It wasn't even really like that. You know what I mean? But and I was like, she gonna say, and then she was like, you could have said excuse me or something. So she made it seem like I was just all in her personal space. So I was just like, you know what, you don't, I end up just, saying, like, telling her, like, you the one is rude. And, I just kind of left it alone, man. But I was like, she killed the whole vibe, just by, I'm going to say this, just by expressing how she really felt at the moment. Kevin Samuels used to say this all the time. I'm an older guy, one, and the first thing you do is, especially when you deal with older people, you have some deference and you try to show some respect. And then two, why are you so chippy? What's good, Montreal? Why are you so chippy? So, because the reason why it made me feel like, okay, what's the point of being nice, is because if people, and I see this a lot, especially in the younger generation, if people are really just feeling comfortable to express how they really feel in that moment, then shit, I might as well too. Because in that moment, what I feel inside is like, fuck you, bitch. And if that the direction, we need to go with people in general. And so it's like it doesn't really, at least in the US, I'm not gonna even limit to the US. A lot of what I see, what guys deal with foreign chicks is, guys want to be nice. People naturally want to be nice. If a woman you think is cool and you see she need a little bit of help, and all she asking for is equivalent to $10 or $20, most guys are nice enough to be like, here you go, hopefully, that solved your problem for the day. And what I noticed is that when you be nice to chicks on that level, it's not appreciative a lot of times. A lot of times they take it for granted to think that you're somehow obligated to always look out when they got their hand out. And then a lot of times when you say no, or finally say no, they don't want to fuck with you no more, or they got an issue with you no more. So I've noticed, even say Africans right now, since it's not the Latina I'm fucking with now, I notice when I be like, nah, or just be rude, I get more respect when I say no than when I say yes. They I don't know. It's like fucking reverse psychology or something, man. They stick around. They don't block you. Cause Dominican chicks, soon as you say no, nigga, next thing you know, that WhatsApp picture is disappeared. But with a lot of chicks, man, if you be like, man, hell no, or you just say some shit, be like, man, don't ask me for money. That's however you decide to shut that down. I've noticed a lot of chicks, man, they'll leave it alone, and then the next day they'll be like, they'll brush it off like, oh, hey, how you doing? So I don't know, man. I don't think it's worth being nice. Now, yes, there are some people, if I see, older women, sweet ladies like my mom, the lady at the church or something like that. Yeah, I'm not gonna change who I am for them. But these days, especially these younger women, it don't pay being nice, man. What's good? Kevin Arnold said, guys, it's YouTube. This guy's please like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Salute to everybody in the building. Now, something Minister Jap mentioned yesterday, he does put a lot of guys on game, but he does not like passport bros. You know what I mean? And he called a lot of passport bros tricks. Now, his argument yesterday was, he said that when it comes to all types of spending money on a chick is not the same, because I am on the mindset to say, well, if you spend $100 on a date and it ends up you smashing the chick after the date, versus you finding a pro and giving her $100 to smash. A lot of guys in the travel space, have said, what's the difference? You still spent $100, and both situations required you to spend money to get the draws, and I kind of agree with that. Now, Minister Jot was saying, well, the difference is that when you're giving a pro, $100, you're changing that's impacting her life. And he said, you spending $100 on a date, entertainment. So his argument is like, guys can't use the argument of paying for entertainment like tricking. So his example was that, well, if you spend money on steak and drinks, right, going out, right, a steak, dinner, drinks, let's say you spend $200 date. He was like, that chick can't take that meal. That meal is not going to change her life. Them drinks are not going to change her life, right? And then he further went on to say, well, if it's about drinks and if it's about buying drinks and steak, you can just take her to your house and cook a steak dinner and buy drinks. You're not gonna say you tricked on her because she came to your crib and you cooked and bought drinks. So I said, okay, that's a good point. It was a good angle. But I started to think about it this morning, and I'm like, well, even though spending a lot of money to entertain a chick may not be impacting her life in the way he sees it if you gave a chick cash, but what I've noticed is with these chicks is that you're feeding their ego, and two, you're giving them more clout. The more money you spend on a chick, or the more lavish things you do with a chick, you giving her clout. Why you think is the difference between chicks you take to quote unquote the Cheesecake Factory versus a chick saying she wanna eat at Ruth Chris, for example? It's about clout. It's about ego stroke. Gassing these chicks up. She's not gonna let you. There's a reason why a chick doesn't want you to buy steaks and drinks and just cook at your house and y'all drink at her house. There's the reason why she wants to do it at an expensive restaurant. She wants to take pictures. She wants, that's an ego stroke. That's how a chick gets her nut. That's how a chick gets her nut, her mental nut. That ego stroke. So I'm gonna have to push back on you, Jap, on that one, man. It's still the same. Especially if she gets, because clout. The two things that women benefit from. You can look at Shannon Sharp settling that lawsuit with the chick. When chicks be trying to expose celebrities from being in their DM. All women want money, but all women want clout too, to build off that. You damn near invested in her business. To keep it a bean, you damn near invested in her business. So if her business is to come up off of social media and springboard her career from that, the money you spent on her elevating her clout, you really invested in her business. So it's still tricky, man. At the end of the day, man, she's benefiting financially, whether it's on a short end or the long game. He said, "What's the best?" Salute. He said, "What's the best age range, bro?" Man, I will say, I would say, depending on how old you is, but I would say in general, man, you want to start getting to know a chick. Let's say her age is like 27, 28. That should be the time where she's kind of tried a lot of things in life. And I'm not saying like men, like she's tried to pursue her goals and dreams, right? So either at that point they kind of know what their trajectory is. You get a chick too young, like she still want to try different things, and you kind of expect it to, she's not thinking about being a wife or mother. She's not thinking about that. And even if she is thinking about that, she's still thinking about, she wants to have something for herself at the same time. And so you got to compete with her ambitions versus you wanted her to make it about team you and I, or you and her, team you and her. So, once she approaches 30, typically, she's had enough time to try to pursue her ambitions route. Now you might meet her and she might be at a good place, whether it's job, career, or her own business. She may be at a good place, or she may be at a place where she done tried a lot of things, and she just didn't achieve or get to where she wanted to get, and she realized that maybe she doesn't have the talent or the time, where she just kind of burnt out, and she just want to settle in a different way. But you can kind of feel a chick out. To answer your question, you can kind of figure her out more, once you meet her, I would say approaching 30 for the young guys. Rory said, deport. CJ Mayer said, listen, a girl has to ask you for money. You don't have to give her. And honestly, she doesn't like guys who gives her money easily all the time. She asks. She tests your friend. That's true, man. That is true. That is true. I've noticed that chicks do test you. They like, all right. Because a lot of chicks, especially chicks that it's they kind of survival to ask for money. You're not the only person they asking for money from. Honestly, you're not the only one. You are not the only one. Sometimes you're the first person they ask. And if you say no, they're going to be okay. Especially because, a lot of these chicks, at least what I'm noticing in Africa, a lot of chicks in general, I noticed they wasn't asking for no chick I can remember said, hey, I need money because I haven't eaten all day and I don't have nothing to eat. No chick has never asked for money and say, hey, I'm a little short on funds until I get paid next week or the beginning of the month. It's always money for nails, hair. Some chicks be out. Some chicks they'll go out. They'll go out shopping. When I say shopping, maybe to the market. They may see something nice that they want to get at the moment, and they be like, "Oh, can you send me some money? I want to grab something." Um, you know, but it's never money about just immediate needs. It's usually an immediate want. So you can say no. It's J. Clyde, man. Salute, man. T.H. Brown said depends on the woman, man. Yeah, man. It's a lot of things, man. It's a lot of things, man. But yeah, this tricking conversation, man, spending money and paying for entertainment is different than giving a chick cash. I mean, at the end of the day, man, like I say, man, tricking it. Like I said, tricking is getting something in return. Simping is when you don't get nothing in return, man. I'm not a person that that likes tricking. I don't like it. I don't like tricking. And chicks will call me stingy, tight with money, and things like that, man. But I don't give chicks money like that, but I do spend money on entertainment. I have took chicks on trips that I wanted to go to. I may have ate at restaurants that I wanted to do, and they benefited from being with me. I'm not finna just say those were entertainment expenses, and I don't feel like I tricked a little bit. You know what I mean? But I didn't do those things. I didn't do those things to get pussy. I did those things because those are things that I enjoy to do. And so I think, somebody like Minister Jap, his point is guys, doing things to get pussy. Some guys are he mentioned some guys are willingly financial stepfathers just to get the box, which is wild. So I feel like with females now, it has to be clear if she wants, sometimes we might have to start asking these chicks, are you a prostitute? Yes or no? Yes or no? Are you a prostitute? Yes or no? Because when chicks are asking you for money and they don't care about, some chicks, they don't want to entertain you, like, baby, let me take you out, let me do this, do that. And they like, nah, but you could pay a bill. Well, are you being a prostitute right now? You want a guy to pay the bill. Is that prostitution? So that's another conversation, we gotta have, man.